What's going on? Welcome everybody. Welcome to Frank Analysis. Yeah, I'm here early. I'm no in the West Coast. It's the morning right now. Over here it's 1 p.m. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a chill stream. We can all hang out. You guys can send me stuff, and I can like opine on that stuff, and I can give you guys my analysis on it. Yeah, just a really chill stream. But we can mainly talk about the U.S. Solution Summit also, since that recently happened, and I think that we should have more of those solution summits. But to be honest, I think that most of the people there were just saying the same things that they have been saying on their shows for years. Or the candidates were just saying like, "Oh, we got to knock on more doors and just try harder, and we should get people to vote for third parties and vote for us." Um, but yeah, you guys know how I feel about electoral politics. I don't see that as a way forward. I think that we need a revolution. We need more direct action. Our like I said in the summit, our election systems are privately owned. We can't vote our way out of this. The best thing that we can start doing is opt out of the system. But yeah, let me say what's up to everybody. DJ, aka the Falcon General, what's up? Alex Carlos, Josh Davis, what's up, man? Mariana, hello. Shadow Band Refugee, what's up? You had a killer call when you called into Steve's show. I want to get you on the show so we can talk more about like your experience working. What you were talking you're spreading a lot of knowledge about fuel and how it has how oil has like a 5 week shelf life. I gotta get you on the show to talk more about that, man. We also got Dull Excitement. What's up? Alex Carlos asked, "Do I smoke weed?" I used to smoke a lot more weed when I was in high school and as an undergrad. I don't really smoke as much now because I get a lot of anxiety. But if it's like a little bit, I'm chill. Like I can smoke a little bit. I don't go out my way as much as I used to smoke though. All right, Falcon General, you ask thoughts on Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, and you also ask my thoughts on Filipino Maoists. I'm still learning a lot from you, DJ, you and Mac, Skeptical Mantis. You guys have been teaching me a lot. You guys have been opening my eyes a lot to some of the things that some Marxist Leninists don't talk about enough or have differences in opinion. I understand that Maoists don't see China as, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys don't see China as a socialist country with Chinese characteristics. You guys see it as a state capitalist country, and that China still commits acts of imperialism, albeit that it's not the same kind of imperialism that the US does, where they come in with a bulldozer and they come in more violently. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, China, do they commit any acts of violent imperialism? And as far as the Filipino Maoists, we should support any armed resistance against imperialism. But yeah, I could get you on the show again, Falcon Jenner. We can talk more about that. Gasoline has a shelf life of 3 to 6 months. I gotta look that up. Josh, your family came from Prussia around 1870? Like, came to the US? That's crazy, man. That's a long history. So Falcon General says we believe China as a imperialist country and a capitalist country. And what's their involvement right now in the Philippines? We got Shadowban Refugee in on Rockfin. You guys can jump over to Rockfin too. You guys can support me there as well. If you guys write stuff with tips, I can prioritize those comments. Alex Carlos, Bernie is defending Israel, a new low for him. Yeah, it's so disappointing. Even though Bernie was a gateway for me, and then it doesn't mean that we should just settle for that and settle for that as being like a gateway for some people. Like we should still always demand better. Franco, apparently they owned a business and had to leave because of the anti-Semitism. From Prussia? Your family had to leave Prussia because of the anti-Semitism? Hi, Franco. Thank you for calling out the Green Party who rigged the primary in favor of Howie Hawkins. Bro, of course I had to call that out, man. I've been reporting on that here on this channel almost a year now. Almost a year ago is when I started reporting on that. Like you expect us like don't we look like hypocrites supporting the Green Party if they're rigging their own primaries and their own elections, favoring that one guy, Howie Hawkins, who was so hopeless and lackluster? Like did Howie Hawkins install any hope in us at all? It almost seemed like they were trying to lose on purpose with him. And then we had people like Dario Hunter, Ian Schlackman. These other guys had to jump over more hoops. They had to go through more obstacles than Howie Hawkins did. But look through my older videos. You'll see like I present evidence for how the Green Party primaries were rigged. Look at the interviews that I have with people like Ian Schlackman and Chad Wilson. Primo Nutmeg, he did a great job documenting this stuff and how the primaries are rigged. The most fiery video, though, that I've seen exposing this stuff and exposing the disappointment in people like Jill Stein for not calling this stuff out in the Green Party was when Ian Schlackman was on Steve Poikinen's show on Slow News Day. He just let it all out. Skeptical Mantis, what's up, brother? Said Bernie was always a liberal Zionist. He always supported Israeli supremacy while using the both sides rhetoric. Apparently, there's a video in like 2014 where Bernie Sanders got mad, like when they were asking him questions about Israel, and it's like, why don't you condemn Israel for what they're doing? And then he was like, oh, that's anti-Semitic. He said something like that. If one of you guys can find the video for that, I can play it. I gotta show you guys something real quick. Because speaking of Israel and Palestine, we see all these cucks in Hollywood now coming out. Like some of the people that were at least supporting Palestinians, like mildly supporting my Palestinians, are now coming out and apologizing. Like Mark Ruffalo said, I reflected and wanted to apologize to posts during the recent Israel-Hamas fightings that suggest Israel is committing genocide. It's not accurate. It's inflammatory, disrespectful, and is being used to justify anti-Semitism here and abroad. Now is the time to avoid hyperbole. Bro, come on, man. I love the MCU movies. I love Mark Ruffalo as an actor. I love his character. So it's so disappointing to see this stuff. Like these are people that that people look up to, you know. And then Jimmy Dore says the irony is the guy who plays the Hulk becomes a huge wimp when other people get angry at him. Tell me about it, man. He received a whole bunch of pressure, I bet, from his circle there in Hollywood, which there's a lot of pro-Israeli people in Hollywood. But what's also ironic is he says that it's not accurate, it's inflammatory. It is accurate. It by definition, Israel is committing a genocide in Palestine against Palestinians, and it's considered an ethnic genocide because it's targeting one ethnic group. Bro, Thor Ragnarok is so good. It's one of my favorite ones. It has a lot of Rick and Morty vibes to it. Profile and courage. Total Excitement said he got bullied by Israel lobbyists. For sure, man. Let's look over at the Rockfin chat. Bubblegum douche. I second the notion to have shadow ban refugee on frank analysis to share more knowledge. And as far as China goes, it is not a communist paradise. It is an authoritarian dystopia that shares many of its problems with the US. Extreme financial/political inequality, social immobility, militarism, nationalist propaganda, aggression towards neighbors, etc. And tell the truth about that truth about Howie Hawkins, of course. Because we can't afford. Hang on. We can't afford to have people misguided and wasting their time on these Green Party candidates that are in it just they're hopeless. They're not going to win, especially if they don't acknowledge the problems with our election system. If there was a third party that was focusing on these election integrity issues, then we could focus on. Then I'd feel better about supporting them. But since none of them are acknowledging that, none of them are presenting any detailed plans for how to combat these election integrity laws that suppress third parties. None of them are doing that. So why even bother with them? It's wasted energy. And I forgot what else I was going to say. Oh yeah, about China. So as far as I know, and I could be wrong because started learning about this stuff. People like Skeptical Mantis, Falcon General know more about this stuff than I do. People like Fuzz know more about this than I do. Communism is the destination that communists are trying to arrive at. And there has been no communist country yet because a communist country would have to be a classless society. And in order to get to communism, you have to first go through the process of socialism. So was China ever a socialist country? I don't know. There's a debate among the Marxist-Leninists and the Marxist-Leninist Maoists saying that there was probably no socialist country. I could be mistaken on that. But as far as I know, there's billionaires in China, but the state controls most of that wealth. And apparently there's a recent speech that Xi Jinping, the president, just gave that was praising Klaus Schwab If you guys don't know who Klaus Schwab is, he's like he's a guy that's spearheading the Great Reset, and he's at the World Economic Forum. He gives speeches about how we need the Great Reset, and how are you gonna how are you gonna be praising this guy here who's trying to save capitalism with this fourth industrial revolution and implementing the Great Reset? And a lot of Marxist Leninists praised Xi Jinping, but then here is Xi Jinping praising Klaus Schwab, who wants to save capitalism. I don't know what it is. What's up, Prop? Said Prince Charles wrote the Great Reset. And Prop also said the Maoists and the Leninists are my least favorite communists. They are hyper violent and loyal to state power. Yeah, I know you got your disagreements, Prop. I know you got your disagreements. I like hearing these debates between you guys. Yo, Prop, if there's any videos you want me to play, just send it over. So speaking of like disappointments, like Bernie Sanders being soft on Israel again, more than ever. You would think that he'd be harder on Israel now that he has nothing to lose, now that he knows like there's no way that he can be president now. He's too old to run in 2024. And even if he did run, it'd be even harder for him to win in 2024 than in 2020. I mean, he just lost a bunch of supporters now. A bunch of supporters have realized that electoral politics is not the way forward. And he's making corporations stronger by backing Joe Biden. And these corporations are going to put a lot of power, a lot of money into our election systems to make them even more private, thus making them even more rigged. So good luck with running any progressive or outsider candidate through the Democratic Party. So speaking of that, I supported Tulsi Gabbard more than I supported Bernie Sanders during the primaries, because she was more anti-imperialist than Bernie Sanders. Her No More Presidential Wars Act, like she had a bunch of policies that when I compared her policies with Bernie's policies, I saw her as more anti-imperialist. But I didn't know as much about politics. Like I wasn't the same person during the primaries as I am now. Now I don't support any politician. And if she were to run again, I wouldn't support her because I don't support politicians. This really upset me, what I'm about to show you guys here. And some of you guys have probably already seen it. Like her tweet calling out Mayor Lightfoot. Says Mayor Lightfoot's blatant anti-white racism is apparent. I call upon President Biden, Kamala Harris, and other leaders of our country of all races to join me in calling for Mayor Lightfoot's resignation. Our leaders must condemn all racism, including anti-white. What the fuck is this shit? This is what you're prioritizing on? Like you're not calling on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to stop supporting Israel? This is what you're focusing on right now? Seriously, what is this shit? And you can't be an anti-white racist in a system that is already in favor of white people. It's rigged. This system is rigged in favor of white people, so you can't be an anti-white racist. You can be prejudiced against white people, but you can't be racist in the system that we have against white people. Don't excitement. Yeah, no idea who the audience for that tweet was. Good. Bro, what is she doing, man? What is Tulsi Gabbard doing? At least I learned, and now I know I don't want to support any politician ever again. Like these are the hills that she chooses to die on. But yeah, Sky Daddy, new member of the MCSC network, she had a great video about this. I'm trying to find it so I can play it to you guys. Where did the video go? Bruh, I swear it wasn't that long ago. All right, if it's not here, then I'm gonna check my Twitter page because I know I retweeted it. All right, here we go.
Look, Lori Lightfoot does not give a fuck about your poor black ass. Tulsi Gabbard does not give a fuck about your poor white ass. Miss, I want to disarm the working class Gabbard. Okay? She doesn't give a fuck. These people are pandering. They're race baiters and they pander. And by taking either one of their sides, you are just playing into the divisive narrative. Y'all love this shit. And this is why I'm a shill sympathizer. Because y'all love this shit. You love this fucking performative race baiting shit. Red versus blue, gay versus straight, white versus black. You have no purpose in your life. You're fucking losers. So anytime someone can come along to make you feel like you have purpose, to be on some team, you take that shit. You fall for every fucking trap. Alright? Fuck that race baiting shit. Fuck Tulsi Gabbard. Fuck Lori Lightfoot. Y'all have a nice day though, okay? Y'all have a nice day.
100%. Like this is participating in division within working class people. Like, what is this shit? Like, it's so disappointing. But we got to remember, like, these are expectations that we created on ourselves, like illusions that we created about other people. We expect more from other people, and I guess that's just what it was for people like me. We just feel so disappointed with Tulsi Gabbard and the hills that she chooses to die on. Like, before she stepped out of her office, she was focusing too much on other issues that I can't remember which issues they were. But rather than focusing mainly on she was focusing too much on like the trans issues and sports, and she was trying to pass a bill about trans people in sports when why didn't you use that, like the energy that you were using on that bill to focus on like the bills that you introduced with Thomas Massey, and I can't remember the other Republican congressperson. Like, why didn't you focus your energy on that, on freeing Assange and protecting whistleblowers? Or why didn't you focus your energy on trying to get people stimulus money during the pandemic? To me, that's her participating in culture war bullshit. But yeah, look at this shit here. Here's Gal Gadot. I don't know if you guys saw this, but she's hosting a National Geographic series about indigenous people being displaced. And I'm sure you guys know by now how she's been supporting Israel, which is displacing Palestinians. So can this be any more ironic and cartoonish?
We live for the next 7 generations. Everything we do and everything we don't do impacts the next 7 generations. This way of life has been passed down to Chief Shirel from her ancestors, whose land is being lost to climate change. Committed to leaving the world a better place, she's leading the fight to protect the environment and all generations to come. This is Chief Shirel's impact.
If only she used the same critical thinking skills to help Palestinians out. Literally, by definition and under international law, like Palestine, like it's a genocide, what they're going through, and they're being colonized, and they have a right to be defending themselves, given the UN's international laws, which says that they can defend themselves via armed struggle. And even if that was illegal, even if armed struggle was illegal, I think that is still the moral thing to do. Like, you're just gonna let people kill you and take your land? That's not right. That's not the conscious thing to do. Is just to let these people that are less conscious than you coming in, killing you, trying to take your land, killing you, like raping your women, killing your kids. You're just supposed to let it happen, like turn the other cheek. The reason why you fight back is so you can mitigate that. Otherwise, if they take over your land and all that, like what if they go on and try to take over other lands? Oh wait, they're doing that now. Still. The US is still doing that now. Colonialism never went away. The US is just an extension of UK colonialism. But yeah, speaking of Wonder Woman though, I didn't even bother watching the new one, Wonder Woman 1984, which like I don't know why they had to choose that date of like with especially with everything that's going on with COVID and ramping up surveillance, you know, all this talk about domestic terrorists and big tech becoming more powerful, taking channels down and all that. It's funny that they called it Wonder Woman 1984. I don't know, were they trying to take the focus off of like the Orwellian nightmare that's becoming a reality now, or I don't know. I don't understand why they had to choose that date. Like out of every date that they could have chose for Wonder Woman and being in the 1980s, they chose 1984. The first one, it wasn't that bad of a movie. To be honest, I think Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie is better than Captain Marvel, and I'm an MCU fan. But the ending was I think the ending was rushed. It felt like a different movie. Like the ending of the Wonder Woman movie, it just became like a big CGI fest. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a way you can make like a CGI ending, like final battle, look really good. But it just didn't feel like that for me with Wonder Woman. Bro, Josh, yeah. Captain Marvel is my least favorite Marvel movie too. I've only seen it once. That's how much I didn't like care for it. By far, holy crap. Dang, more than like Iron Man 2. Skeptical Mantis, many who call themselves libertarians are bootlickers for the cops and the imperialists. There are a few who actually oppose the police state. There are some that oppose the cops, but yeah, you're right. Skeptical. I have seen a lot of libertarians that lick the boot of, the cops, these Blue Lives Matter folks. We gotta raise their consciousness. Like I say, we gotta be patient with some people. Like, it's more productive to be patient with some people that you just happen to come across and interact with and talk about politics, than to just insult them and just call them stupid or whatever. That's not productive. We want to raise their consciousness. I don't know, just give them facts. Just give them like statistics about how many prisoners we have in the U.S. Like, how disproportionate the amount of black and brown people that get killed in the U.S. compared to white people. Yeah, there's more white people that get killed by cops, but proportionally, proportionally more black and brown people get killed by cops. And these are the communities that are targeted more. Tell them about how cops evolved from being patrols, like monitoring to make sure like slaves don't run away. Like back in like the 1800s, 1700s, when we still had slaves. That's what the police used to do. That's what they evolved from. Franco, is AMLO becoming a dictator? I don't know. I gotta inform myself more about what's happening in Mexico. I've been looking a lot at what's happening in Peru and Colombia. I gotta go back and see what's going on in Mexico. You got any resources on that, and where I can check out to find out like what's going on? Has the Gray Zone been talking about AMLO in Mexico? Oh my God, Prop. All right, I'm about to play this video that Prop just sent. It's like a 7-minute video of Joe Biden on Israel.
The following program is an original presentation of Shalom TV.
What a pleasure I have right now standing with one of my personal heroes, Senator Joe Biden from the state of Delaware. And thank you for spending a moment with us on Shalom TV.
Well, thank you.
I have two quick questions for you. One is this. Many Americans say to me that they believe there's a link between America's war in Iraq and the state of Israel. And that if America didn't have such a commitment to the state of Israel, there wouldn't be these problems in Iraq. What would you say to anyone who's expressed that thought to you?
It's bizarre. Let me point out to you, I've said when the Baker Commission filed its report saying peace in Israel, is related to Iraq. You may, I was the first and only person in the Congress to point out, if tomorrow peace broke out in between Israelis and Palestinians, does anybody think there wouldn't be a full-blown war in Iraq? And conversely, if Iraq were transported to Mars, does anyone think there would not be the terrorism visited upon the Israelis every day? The difference between now and before 9/11, many Americans can taste what it must feel like for every Israeli mother and father when they send their kid out to school with their lunch to put them on a bus, on a bicycle, or to walk them. And they pray to God that cell phone doesn't ring. Every day. Every day. And so let's get it straight. Israel is not the cause of Iraq. Iraq being settled or not settled has nothing to do with Israel's conduct. The second part is people should understand by now, this should be crystal clear, that Israel is the single greatest strength America has in the Middle East. I always say to my friends when they say those things to you, I say, imagine our circumstance in the world were there no Israel. How many battleships would there be? How many troops would be stationed? So I find it not only incorrect, but sometimes mildly insulting.
You said I could ask you the hard question.
You surely can.
In the American Jewish community, there is a certain sensitivity to the plight of Jonathan Pollard. You're running for president of the United States. If you win, it'll be a problem you'll have to face too.
Yes.
Yeah, by the way, okay, guys, this is from 2007. So this is when Joe Biden was running for president, when he was about to run for president in 08. So yeah, this is what he was saying back then.
May I ask Joe Biden, what's his sense on what should be done now with Jonathan Pollard?
You know, I've been asked that question at the time Jonathan Pollard was arrested. One of the points that I think should be made is, if we don't want to play into the argument that Israel and Israelis and Americans who support Israel have dual loyalties, then you can't deal with Pollard. He has to serve his sentence. He has to serve a sentence. Now, there's a rationale, in my view, why Pollard should be given leniency. There's a rationale for that. But there is not a rationale to say, no, what happened did not happen, it should be pardoned. And so I really do understand, but I was raised by what you would call a righteous Christian. At my dinner table, my father was a gentleman. He was a white-collar worker, high school educated, but a student of history and a devoted supporter of Israel. My father always resented the fact that anyone, particularly if you were a Jew who supported Israel, from back in 48 when the debates were going on in the Jewish community here in the United States, he could not understand how people could assume that because people understood that without an Israel, no Jew in the world was safe, he couldn't understand how that support could be translated into somehow being un-American. And my worry is that if we were to move, if I were president, to go and pardon Pollard, you didn't ask me that question,
right,
but to pardon Pollard would make a lie out of the notion that there are certain rules, period. You cannot give classified information, period, even to a friend. If this were Great Britain, it would be the same thing. And so the standard has to be maintained.
Okay.
Okay?
Have you ever been at a Seder?
I have.
Give me one Seder memory.
Well, I tell you, my son married a young woman whose mother and whole family is a very prominent Jewish family in the state of Delaware, the Bergers. And my probably most poignant Seder memory is not with the Bergers, but what happened right after I came back from meeting Golda Meir. And I had predicted that there would be that something was going on in Egypt. And I remember the poignancy with which we began the meal at that time. We began the meal with people talking about what it meant to them if Israel were actually defeated. And there is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity, that most people don't fully understand, that is unique and, how can I say it, so strong with Jews worldwide. There is a, I mean, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. And that's the sense, this sense of vulnerability, which worries me.
You are remarkable, by the way, that you stayed here and spoke to every single one of us.
Well, they were kind to come.
Well, you're wonderful. So listen, the only thing I'll say to you is, if you become president of the United States, I want to be able to call, and you'll give me 2 minutes then to...
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
You got it. It's
Senator
a deal,
Joseph
Mark. It's
Biden.
a deal.
Thank you.
It's a deal. Thank you.
Bro, could he suck Israel's dick any harder in that interview? And he was getting so close to that guy. Why is it in every interview with Joe Biden, or like when he's talking to somebody, he's like gets so close to them? Like, I remember there was like this, what's that one billionaire that ran for president's name? Tom Steyer. There's a Tom Steyer supporter that was calling out Biden. Biden was like grabbing him like from here. Like the guy was wearing like a jacket, and then Biden was like grabbing him like here and like getting all close to him. What is with him and like getting close to people during interviews? Like, ooh. Like he's about to kiss them. Dude, Joe Biden's a creep, man. And then, can you imagine this guy saying this about South Africa when it was an apartheid state? And then these politicians get away from that. They get away with that. This was now, how long ago? 13 years ago? That's way too long that the U.S. has been asleep about what's been going on in Israel, or not speaking out enough about what's going on in Israel. For decades now. But it's it's worse now more than ever. And we're letting it keep getting it worse and worse. Like imagine like politicians saying this stuff and defending South Africa when it was an apartheid state against Africans, indigenous African people. That's what Israel's doing to indigenous Palestinians. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check out like the documentaries by Max Blumenthal and Dan Cohen. The documentary that Abby Martin has done. Robert Inlakesh also has a documentary. These people were on the ground. They show you what is happening to the Palestinians, like how hard their lives are. No electricity, no water. Or when they do have water, it's dirty and it causes diseases. Little children get killed by the police there. And the thing is, the Palestinians can only do so much. We have to change the way the U.S. is operating right now and what it's doing around the world. That could benefit the lives of so many people around the world if, the Americans finally stood up and revolted against the U.S. and changed the system. BDS, guys. BDS. That's a way we can start. I don't have the picture right now in front of me, but there's you can find online like all these different corporations that support Israel or have really strong ties to Israel that you should stop buying from. Pepsi is one of them. Disney. What's up, Anthony? We got Anthony. Tony watches closely. Just arrived. Screw Google. Oh man, you guys are talking about Jamarl Thomas. Yeah, I know Skeptical Mantis and Anthony have been long time Jamarl Thomas fans. Like before I found out about Jamarl Thomas, Anthony and Skeptical have been watching him since back in like 2017. I like Jamal Thomas a lot. Like when like during the primaries, he gave good constructive criticism for the candidate he was supporting, Bernie. But it seems like he's still too much of a Bernie fan, from what I've seen recently. I don't keep up with as many like YouTube commentators now as much as I used to. I read more now. Like the main shows that I keep up with are like my colleagues in the MCSC network, like their shows like the Combo Couch, Nico, Slow News Day, Facts on the Ground, HMO, HMO, which isn't like really focused on politics, but I still show support. I watch some of their videos. Aside from that, I watch The Last American Vagabond, Whitney Webb whenever she posts on Rockfin. For foreign policy news, I watch Richard Medhurst, The Gray Zone, Robert Inlakesh. And then for like deep dives and like investigative reporting, I watch Jason Burmis like here and there, Derek Bros. The thing is, guys, like this is how you diversify. You have to acknowledge also that you're not going to completely agree with everybody, like when you watch their shows. But you can find some things where they're really spot on. Like, for example, with Jason Burmis, Derek Bros, Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond, they're really spot on with their investigation in, our civil liberties and what's going on with COVID. Pulling up videos that are relevant from like 2009, showing how the CDC wanted to vax people. Like they had plans to vax people back in 2009 during the swine flu epidemic. I don't agree with them on like their economic ideology, and that's okay. Like what good is it to debate so much on economic ideology and like stay divided among people just because you disagree with them on ideology, but they agree that we should like opt out of the system and that electoral politics is not the way forward? Like what good is it to like stay divided with these people if we don't even have a government that represents like both of our interests? Who knows, maybe like over time after we form an alliance where we can come to like a realization about what is the best path forward, like in terms of economic ideology. And yeah, aside from those channels, I will also watch like some, Marxist-Leninist, Maoist channels just to have like some history lessons. Algobis, yes, a BDS general strike, end qualified immunity, and fund mutual aid with those funds, and on the road and to abolish imperialism. We need to organize more on the ground events, just like I was saying in the Solution Summit, or at least I didn't get to say it. But when I did my other stream, like afterward, like it was like things I didn't get to say. I was talking about how we can have more events where the same people attend those the different events, like what we did with Force to Vote and Fuck Censorship and the Free Assange protests. Like we had people that were at the Force to Vote protests that went to the Assange protests. The F censorship protest was in collaboration with the Free Assange protests. We can expand that and have more protests where that happen on the same day. Like with the Medicare for All march that's happening, that's being organized by people like Savage Joy and Ricky Rants. What if we, on the same day, we have an Assange protest, or we have an anti-war protest, or Free Palestine protest? I think eventually we can get that if we keep raising people's consciousness online. Like I've said multiple times, how online communities translate to on the ground communities. Eventually, when we keep having all these different events, collaborating, people going to these different events, meeting people who have different priorities in terms of like which events they prioritize on. Like some people may prioritize more on the anti-war protests over, I don't know, the Medicare for All protests. These people start talking to each other. right? Not everybody's going to be a communist there. Not everybody's going to be like a social democrat or or a libertarian. These people are going to be talking to each other. They're going to feel some kind of compatriocy with each other and realize how much in common they have with each other and talk more and send more information to each other. And then over time, as we have more events like this, we could get a general strike. And also the election integrity activists are very key for these general strikes and to help raise people's consciousness about our elections and how direct action is way, way, way more important than electoral politics. There could be some energy that's put into local electoral politics, but in terms of like at the federal level, no. We're seeing how that's playing out. These third parties have it impossible to win. And the progressive candidates sell out. Bubblegum douche. I'm looking over at the Rockfin chat. At least President Credit Card didn't try to sniff the interviewer's hair. If it was a woman, you definitely would have. Fucking creep. Biden is a proud Zionist. Shadowban refugee. YouTube is one of them, Franco. Jamal Kukmas. Bubblegum douche, you're awesome. Do you have your own channel? Rockfin, Odyssey, BitChute, or even Twitter or PooTube? I haven't heard of PooTube. Oh, you're talking to Shadowban Refugee. Yeah, Shadowban Refugee is really smart. He has a really outgoing personality too, from what I could tell from that interview that he had with Steve and Glory. Now that I have more of you guys here, let me know what you guys think about the Solution Summit. Like, what were your thoughts on it? Did you guys like it? Did you guys feel like it could have been way better? Did you guys feel like it was perfect? Like, what are your thoughts on it? And thanks, Prof, for putting up those links. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, I prefer watching also like some of the newer channels than some of the channels that have been around already for a while. Like for example, I don't watch Jamal Thomas as much as I don't watch Jamal Thomas at all anymore. I don't really watch Graham Elwood. Like some of these channels, like you already get the idea of like what goal they're trying to reach, and everything else is just them reporting on what the news has said, like what mainstream news is saying, and criticizing the mainstream news, and talking about the latest gossip on what's going on in Capitol Hill, like the latest gossip among like our politicians, like, oh my God, Rand Paul just called out AOC, or Margaret Taylor Greene is beefing with AOC. Let's focus more on solutions. All right, we get that these politicians have their own freaking drama that could be just for optics too, just to create more division among people. I prefer to watch the newer channels like the Vanguard and the Fred Hampton Leftists, and some of these up and comers, you know. Those are also more, I think the newer channels are also more open for changing And I encourage my audience members like to watch some of their channels and to post stuff like on their live chats to try to help mold them, guide them and direct them into what's the best path forward. Like if there's some things that you see that they haven't really arrived at yet ideologically, like you can help them out in the live chat. Like asking their thoughts on I don't know, on direct action. Justin Jackson, yeah, that's another one that's another new channel. Anthony Reyes, you think Jamal changed? Said Jamal changed for the worst. I think with a lot of these channels like Kyle Kalinske, Jamal, I think that they didn't change. I think that they just stayed the same, and then we just kind of transcended them, and we get what their goals are, and they just become predictable. It just doesn't feel like we're getting much out of them, you know. Josh Davis, I didn't watch the summit, but it kind of seemed pointless. I gotta tell you, the first couple ones, with the politicians, to be honest, I didn't watch those. Because I don't see electoral politics as a way forward. I saw some glimpses of it, and then a lot of the things that they were saying were predictable, and saying oh, we need to lock on more doors, while not acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is our election integrity system. Red Economics, what's up, Stevie? I didn't watch the entire thing, but from what I saw, there should have been a broader variety of ideas instead of just more of a focus on electoral. Yep. Les Bones, RLA, and I are the only ones that like Kyle in this chat. I don't dislike Kyle. I just don't really get anything out of his show anymore. I was learning a lot from him when I didn't know anything about politics at all. Back in 2016, 2017. Back then, these channels seemed more mind-blowing to us. But then after a while, you're oh yeah, you just see their thumbnails and you're yep, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. It's you don't even have to watch the video anymore. And you can already predict what they're going to say in the video. Because we've been hearing them for months, or in some cases, years. Critical Minds, I've your show. I like the summit, but I think it is a step in the right direction to fight against fake left media outlets. But the summit is not perfect, but a step in the right direction. And please, Ben Swan, RT. Ben Swan does some good reporting. He was one of the only ones that were reporting on the elections, and how there was a lot of interference. What else? He's been reporting a lot. He's been challenging the mainstream COVID narrative, which I don't understand why a lot of these leftist channels that claim to be they claim to be challenging power, these corporations, big pharma and stuff. We're supposed to be questioning these institutions that are oppressing us. I don't understand why a lot of these leftist channels aren't thinking critically about them. They're not applying the same critical thinking skills that they use for like foreign policy, for example, against big pharma, when it's in a lot of cases it's the same players that are involved. Yo, Franco, check out that Great Reset promo I sent you in the DMs. I'm about to watch that after I play this video real quick. Prop. Oh yeah, and thanks, Tony. Yeah, I gotta be honest. Like a lot of what I said in the summit, I wouldn't have been able to think about saying those things if it weren't for me listening to what the audience, some of my audience members, some of the ones that have been following me when I had less than 100 subscribers. I wouldn't have been able to think about saying those things if it weren't for me talking to them and hearing from them. Like a lot of content creators underestimate their audience members, and then they overestimate themselves. They think that they know more than their audience just because they're a content creator with a show, and because they're reading all day about what they're going to make a video about. But there may be a lot of stuff that they're overlooking and that their audience members see. You can't be arrogant towards your audience members. You can't think that you're gonna know more than your audience members. Like my audience members a lot of them are way smarter than me. They opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Like we were just talking earlier, like things like that Falcon General and Skeptical Mantis. Like they've informed me a lot about communism and Marxist-Leninism and like the differences between these different factions of communists, the disagreements among them, some of these movements like the Jericho movement that get like overlooked, like the Jericho movement that tries to raise awareness about political prisoners, that I think should unite more with the whistleblower movement. Like people like Anthony Reyes, for example, and propaganda. Like they opened my eyes to like things like Event 201 and the Great Reset. Like and then they send me stuff to go deeper into that rabbit hole to inform me more.
This is a real.
Yo, Prop, before I watch that video you sent of the Great Reset, I just want to play this real quick. I didn't get to watch this, but the Vanguard reported on this. And one of you guys in the live chat said that the Vanguard talks a lot about like gossip that happens among like among like leftist content creators and other personalities. Hey man, if they feel like reporting on that stuff, you know, they can. All I ask for is for content creators to at least still present some solutions to their audience. Like I talk about some of this stuff too, and it helps with clicks. But don't let that be the only thing you do. Like you gotta also leave your audience with some kind of like a sense of direction. You know, give them something to give them a sense of direction. Like for example, like I talk about like how to opt out of the system, and how the Black Panthers try to do it, and how Derek Bros is trying to do it right now with Freedom Cells.
Real B&H.
But yeah, they reported on this. Kyle Kalinske calls out Nick Brana and explodes on MPP troll. You don't want to debate me?
Customer story. Jack and Barbara, professional wildlife photographers and B&H customers. Okay, so just to set some.
It's funny though, because Kyle Kalinske has this like, he still has hope in like the Justice Democrats, which we've seen like them all like sell out. Like he still has hope in reforming the Democratic Party. And then he says that he from what I remember, when he talked to Jimmy about third parties, he says he doesn't have much hope in third parties. And from what I remember from his show, also he'd be saying that he doesn't think that third parties are the best path forward because they're always going to be suppressed. And I agree. But reforming the Democratic Party is also impossible. So yeah, I'm curious to see what he said here.
In context, 'cause I didn't realize I was about to jump into this exact clip. He was just talking about the third party approach and why he doesn't necessarily think it's the right approach.
Okay, what are you saying? Let me know if you want to talk in that kind of setting. We can talk. Official People's Party US. So I guess this is Nick Brana who wants to like bait me into some sort of debate. Dude, I wish you well. I hope you build your party. The last thing you should want is a prominent lefty YouTuber to like...
I don't think that account was Nick Brana. But it probably was someone, I don't know, someone that has access maybe to like the People's Party Twitter page. I don't know.
Be put in a position where I come out strongly against you. See, that's the thing you don't understand. I hope you succeed. I just don't think you will. There's a big difference. I want you to do well. I don't think you're going to do well. I'm doing an objective description of what I think will happen. That's not saying I want you to not do well. I hope you do well. I just don't think you're going to do well. So I don't know why you would even want to lean in to have a prominent left YouTuber come out more against you. Because if we have a debate and a discussion and you find out all the ways in which I disagree with you, I promise you it's not going to go well for you. So what you should do is accept my tepid support of like, I hope you do well, while thinking you're not going to do well. And if you think I'm wrong in that assumption, how many People's Party folks have been elected since you founded the party?
So, Pillow Cube just
So
sent me
far
this
he's-
cube-shaped pillow, and I'm totally excited. Let's see what's inside.
So far, he's bringing up a lot of inconvenience.
I'm not taking a shot at you. I'm just saying, relax with the whole, like, let me step to you a little bit and let's talk about it. No, I want you to do well. You have good policy ideas, so I agree with you. I wish you well. I just don't think you're going to do well because you haven't fucking done well so far, and I don't see a plan, in effect, that will make you do well. So, and there's no pithy response of, oh, he's defending the Justice Democrats you can make here because fuck the Justice Democrats. They failed. They did wrong. They did bad. But that doesn't mean that you're the solution when you haven't had a solution. So, sorry, that's the truth. I wish.
At least he acknowledges that Justice Democrats is a failure. But then why is he still pretty much doing the same thing by believing that we can reform the Democratic Party and by telling people that we should have like more progressives, people who are more progressive than AOC, which is going to be the same thing. Someone's going to come in and pretend, I'm not going to do what AOC does. Like, I'm going to be more progressive than AOC. They come in, they're still going to be pushed to the right. It's just going to keep happening. Because that's the pressure that's there in Congress right now. And if you were truly a threat to the establishment, then they'll do everything that they can to make sure you don't win. So I don't know, Kyle just has a lot of trust in our election system and just doesn't study the problems that our election system has.
Wish you well, but I don't think you're going to do well. That's my take on it. And you don't want me to, expound on that more because it won't go well for you. Are you a fan of the
I love Kyle, bro. I love Kyle so much. And before I pass the ball to you really quickly, because this is just my first time hearing that, Nick Brenna is too fucking scared to come on a small show like The Vanguard. I bet you he's shitting his
he's too afraid to
fucking
come on
pants
this
when he
show
heard
too.
that shit. And Gavin and I have been openly critical of the People's Party on our show, and we're not obviously we were really excited by the prospect of it, but Kyle's analysis of this is so spot on. Look, everything indicates that this is going to fail miserably. They're doing absolutely nothing to work to actually get real people elected. They're going to perform worse than the Green Party does.
Oh yeah, and actually we probably
I see that. I can see that happening too. MPP performing even worse than the Green Party. That's embarrassing. Performing worse than Howie Hawkins. Whoever, if you're still on board with MPP, it just looks really embarrassing right now. Like who do you have supporting you? It's just people who watch like channels, like independent media channels, independent lefty media channels, and some of them at that. Because not everybody who watches these independent lefty media channels supports MPP. So it's just a waste of energy, a waste, like giving people false hope. And yeah, Kyle's not one to talk because he wants to give people false hope in reforming the Democratic Party, whether it be with the Justice Democrats or not.
Been more critical of the MPP than any other lefty independent media outlet that exists. We've actually done a full-scale investigation and report on what's going on in MPP, and what we found over the course of several months after talking to several activists and volunteers and trying, though failing to get through to Nick and the people at MPP, is that it's a organization that exists with no accountability, no financial worth trying.
On this
I
show
voted.
also.
I didn't say. And actually tried to do like some sort of a real involved, a little bit explosive kind of
Failed. Why is a third party not viable? What you're suggesting is just to do justice. I didn't say do justice Democrats against. See, now I'm pissed off because people are putting fucking words in my mouth. But we've seen that strategy fail over and over. Okay, so point number one. The third party fucking strategy has failed over and over too, and they failed way more profoundly than the Justice Democrats have failed. How many Greens are in Congress? How many Greens are in the Senate? How many Greens are even in fucking local and state places? They're not there. How many People's Party people are in the Senate? How many People's Party people are in Congress? How many? How many? So somehow that's not a failure, but it's a failure when we get 12 there and they don't do as good of a job as they should do. Take off the fucking blinders, son. Take off the blinder. People are holding on to this thing in a religious, cultish type way. This idea of a third party. I'll believe it's going to happen when RC Cola overtakes Coca-Cola and Pepsi. It's not going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. And again, if you want to try it, go right ahead. I wish you well. I do. I just don't think it's going to work. I'm not going to bullshit you guys and say, yeah, we're really close in the next election cycle to having a People's Party president. Or even a one People's Party senator. You're not even going to get one fucking senator. Not even one. Not even one. So the fucking difference between me and people like this is that I'm willing to admit Justice Democrats.
Get leaf filter and end gutter cleaning for life. Our professional teams have a proven process to ensure
it's failed. I'm willing to admit that.
The thing is, like, you can only say that because we got Justice Democrats in office, and then we saw them fail because they just became regular Democrats. With MPP, we haven't seen it fail yet, but we're seeing it fail. But people aren't seeing them, aren't accepting that they're failing yet. Some of us are seeing it now, but it's a different scenario. But yeah, I agree with what Kyle is saying here, but he's not one to talk because he still believes that we can reform the Democratic Party. Whether he wants to call it Justice Democrats or not, he's still trying to run candidates to reform the Democratic Party.
They're not willing to admit that their third party attempt failed when it's been tried 1,000 fucking times.
And by the way, if anyone's like,
and yeah, so Kyle is not willing to admit that reforming the Democratic Party is a failed strategy. So I agree with him, but it's hypocritical. Next, Tony said, next he will announce that he was running for office and would change things. Oh man, that would be so arrogant. Can you imagine if like Kyle and like Crystal Ball started running for office? Will they fail just as hard as like Cenk Uygur did? I don't know. I don't think Kyle will run for office, but I don't know. Crazier things have happened. I think that he just wants to be a talk show host. That's what he wants to be. So he's not a revolutionary. Anthony Reyes, yeah, Hinkle does seem he is poised to run. That's what his goal is. Jackson Hinkle wants to run for a political office. What's up, Ali? You made it. All right, now we're going to watch this video that Propaganda just sent me about the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset. Oh.
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we...
Sent it to the wrong place. Oh, it's that one. I've seen this before, Prop, but I'll play it for everybody.
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it, and the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental, and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
Recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
You don't want to go back to the status quo that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before. Ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination. Hands up.
Isn't it funny how they acknowledge that? So they're trying to like dismiss the people that are accurately calling this like a conspiracy, calling this can't find the right word for it. But they're dismissing people that are investigating this, and they're saying, yeah, look, this is nefarious. And they're just saying, oh no, it's just these people are just like conspiracy theorists. The World Economic, like, this is actually going to be something good.
This kind of slogan hasn't gone down well. But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity to build a better world. And it's not surprising that people who've been disenfranchised by a broken system and pushed even further by the pandemic will suspect global leaders of conspiracy. But the world's not that simple. Every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by, and why we all need to be involved in the decision making. Because whether it's politicians, CEOs, academics, activists, or you, we're all about getting people together, even those you may not like, to sit down at the table and develop solutions that work for all of us. But
we need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work. That trust is hard to come by.
It's time for people to work together, listen to each other, and build this trust so we can move towards a better world. And we really need one. Because while the pandemic affects us all, it's clear it affects some more than others.
The first people who are hit are the people at the front, those who are vulnerable. It is those on the front line who take it first, and that is simply unacceptable.
See, at the start of 2020, 1% of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth. And since the start of the pandemic, billionaires have increased theirs by more than 25%, whilst 150 million people fell back into extreme poverty. And
with the fourth industrial revolution, we will give these billionaires more money.
Climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic, the message from 2020 should be abundantly clear.
Capitalism, as we know it, is dead. This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
But no one can do this alone, and top-down approaches won't get us anywhere, because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people, planet, prosperity, and institutions.
Giving people a real stake in the economy and putting well-being before growth. And that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship with nature for the survival of the peoples and our planet.
We have a window of time which is closing, and we need everybody who cares to get together and find solutions now.
It's the people who have great ideas and who share them with others. They're the ones who are shaping the future. So if you want to be a part of the change, then tune in, turn on, and get involved. Follow the Davos Agenda, right here, online, on YouTube.
Yeah, that's insane.
The pandemic.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my earphones in, so when it's on speakers, it just comes out really loud. Franco, do you notice how they have stole our language? Yeah. When people call you, so Tender Lungs 206, when people call you a conspiracy theorist, start hitting them with questions about why they think you're wrong, and that usually has them looking pretty unimaginative. Yeah, just when people challenge you about why, and then you have like the facts in favor, and then the facts just aren't working, and then they just come up with all these assumptions. Just ask them like where they got that information from. You just keep asking them questions. Do what my friend Skeptical Mantis says, perform street epistemology on them, and then they'll be thinking in their head, like whether it be consciously or subconsciously, they'll realize how wrong they are. You just keep asking them questions and then have them expose themselves as being full of it. Al, your corporations will take care of you. That's pretty much what it is. Don't worry. You know, these people that know better, these billionaires, these multinationals, they know better. They'll take care of you. They'll take these resources to advance society. But don't worry, you won't owe nothing, because we got you taken care of. We know better. Trust Big Brother. What are you saying TYT is on board with? TYT is on board with what? The Great Reset? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they support it, and then they call people like us who expose it for what it is, as conspiracy theorists. Bubblegum Douche, thank you for the super ray. Said, Franco, your honesty and humility are the reasons why I'll probably be watching for as long as you're putting out content. You're awesome, sir. And that you realize creators are no better or worse than their audience is far too rare a trait these days, at least from what I've seen. Thanks for being you. I think I've evolved a lot. Like, if you look at my old videos, like I see myself as a completely different person in those videos from a year ago when I first started making videos here than I am now. So it'll be interesting to see, like, what, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, like when I'm in my 30s, how much I would have evolved. My goal is just to keep learning as much as I can and keep finding different solutions for you guys, and keep helping people opt out of the system. Keep exposing corruption. Keep exposing these limited hangouts and these time wasters. Like TYT is a time waster. The Majority Report is a time waster. And not only do we have like those full on like time wasters, but we also have some people that are half-assers. Some people that, you know, they say the right things, they diagnose the problems well, or at least most of the problems well. Like they diagnose the problems with Russiagate and misinformation well, but then they don't want to apply all the same critical thinking skills to the mainstream narrative about COVID. Or they don't talk about solutions enough, or their ideas of a solution is just more electoral politics or supporting third parties. Those people I call half-assers. But yeah, I gotta head out, guys. We're now like what, an hour, 90 minutes in. So I thank you guys for that. I'm gonna take like a week off. I got some personal ceremonies that I'm gonna have to attend. But in the meantime, I'll still be like around, like on Discord. I'll still be probably in some live chat showing support to some of my comrades, some of my MCSC colleagues, or some of these other close sister channels that I support. You guys will find me there. I'll be probably also thinking about planning, you know, what videos to do next, which people to have on, which panels to do. But yeah, I won't stop informing myself during the break. And yeah, I'll see you guys around, all right? I'll be in the Discord and everything. But I appreciate you guys stopping by, hanging out with me, sharing these videos. Prop, thank you for that video. For those videos, actually, send me multiple videos. And yeah, guys, take care, all right? You know I care about you guys a lot, and I want you guys to keep raising your consciousness and keep learning. Enjoy the process, and always stay informed. Take care, everybody.